Welcome to Gender Perspectives. This is a program where we explore the realities, the challenges, and the triumphs through the lens of gender in today's world. Now, today we're diving into a topic that is often romanticized but rarely discussed in full, which is on motherhood and mental health. So stay with us as we delve into that right after the break.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Welcome back. Now, many mothers face emotional battles that are hidden behind smiling baby photos and societal expectation. But here's the truth. Motherhood is not just a physical transformation. It's a deeply emotional and psychological journey. To truly understand the complexities of motherhood and mental health, it is important to look beyond the surface, look at the facts, look at the struggles and the experiences that many mothers face every day. So coming up next, we're bringing you a detailed background report that breaks down and reveals the realities of maternal mental health and the societal pressures that shapes a mother.
Motherhood is often celebrated as one of the most joyful and rewarding experiences in a woman's life. Yet, behind the images of smiling mothers and sleeping babies lies a far more complex and often hidden reality, the mental health challenges that many mothers face. The transition to motherhood, whether through pregnancy, childbirth, adoption, or parenting, is both physically demanding and emotionally transformative. For many women, it brings unexpected psychological stress, anxiety, and even clinical depression. In recent years, awareness around maternal mental health has grown, but stigma, misinformation, and systemic gaps in support continue to leave many mothers struggling in silence. This background report explores the realities of maternal mental health, the myths that surround it, and the urgent need for comprehensive care and societal understanding. Maternal mental health refers to a mother's emotional and psychological well-being during pregnancy, childbirth, and the postpartum period, also known as the perinatal period. Mental health challenges during this time can range from short-term emotional changes to serious conditions like postpartum depression, PPD, postpartum anxiety, postpartum psychosis, and birth-related PTSD. According to the World Health Organization (WHO), around 10 to 13% of women globally experience a mental health disorder during pregnancy or after childbirth. In low- and middle-income countries, that number rises to nearly 20% due to factors such as poverty, gender-based violence, lack of social support, and limited access to healthcare. Some of the common conditions affecting mothers are baby blues. This affects up to 80% of new mothers and is characterized by mood swings, irritability, and tearfulness in the first few weeks postpartum. Postpartum depression, PPD, affects 1 in 7 mothers and includes symptoms like hopelessness, severe sadness, fatigue, and detachment from the baby. Postpartum anxiety includes excessive worry, panic attacks, and obsessive thoughts related to the baby's safety or the mother's ability to care for the child. Postpartum psychosis, a rare but severe mental health emergency that can include hallucinations, paranoia, and suicidal or infanticidal thoughts. Without treatment, these conditions can have long-term impact on the mother, child, and family unit, including difficulties in bonding, developmental delays in children, and strain on relationships. One of the most significant challenges in addressing maternal mental health is the social stigma and unrealistic expectations placed on mothers. Cultural ideals often portray motherhood as a naturally blissful and fulfilling role, leaving little room for vulnerability, exhaustion, or emotional distress. The concept of the perfect mother, always patient, always joyful, always nurturing, creates a standard that is not only unattainable but deeply harmful. Mothers who don't meet these unrealistic expectations may feel guilt, shame, or fear of being judged as inadequate. Additionally, Social media has exacerbated the pressure to appear like the ideal mom. Curated images of smiling babies, spotless homes, and glowing mothers can make those who are struggling feel even more isolated. Many mothers face significant barriers to accessing mental health care, including lack of routine screening for mental health during prenatal and postpartum checkups, limited access to affordable therapy or psychiatric care, fear of judgment or stigma from family and society, concerns about being labeled as unfit or having their children taken away, a general lack of education about maternal mental health. In some cultures, discussing emotional struggles is seen as a sign of weakness, further silencing mothers who need help. To improve maternal mental health outcomes, a multifaceted approach is needed. Routine screening, mental health assessment should be a standard part of all prenatal and postpartum care. Education and awareness, public campaigns can help normalize emotional struggles and encourage help-seeking behavior. Policy support, paid maternity leave, flexible work options, and accessible childcare are essential to relieving the stress on new mothers. Community-based support, peer support groups, hotlines, and culturally competent care can bridge gaps in underserved areas. Motherhood should not come at the cost of mental well-being. Yet, for too many women, the emotional toll of caregiving, compounded by silence and stigma, becomes overwhelming. By dismantling myths, promoting understanding, and ensuring that support is readily available, we can begin to reshape the conversation around maternal mental health, from one of silent suffering to one of shared strength and healing. The mental health of mothers is not just a women's issue, it is a family issue, a healthcare issue, and a societal responsibility.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them, at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Chikichi Agorum, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
The way we see the world shapes the way we change it. Gender isn't just a checkbox, it's a lens, one that helps us understand the world more deeply and act more fairly. Gender Perspectives, a program for those ready to see more, do more, and be more. Designed to challenge assumptions, ignite conversations, and build inclusive solutions across every sector of society.
We are not, fighting the men. We are not saying we are equal in terms of rights. We're only asking they should recognize our existence.
Join us on Gender Perspectives, showing every Saturday by 4 p.m. Repeat every Wednesdays by 5 p.m. and Thursdays by 3 p.m. Change begins with perspective. Let's widen yours.
Welcome back. Well, that report highlights just how layered and often overlooked the mental health challenges of motherhood can be. But behind every statistic is a real story. It's a real person who is navigating the emotional ups and downs of parenting. So now let's go deeper. We're joined by Mrs. Uzamaka Nwachukwu. She's a psychotherapist, she's a mental health practitioner, she's a co-founder, Cope and Live Mental Health Awareness Foundation and Koli Mental Health Academy. And she's here to bring us valuable insights into both personal and professional realities of motherhood and mental health. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you here again. So now I would like to know, first of all, what would you say that, or how would you say that motherhood and mental health is being understood in our society, and how well is it addressed?
Okay, I would say that motherhood is a joyful journey, and people are usually carried away with that joyful part of having a baby, 1 year celebration, the reveal of the baby. You know, people are more carried away with the facade, the social media facade, and neglecting the deep responsibilities and also the significant mental health impact that comes with being a mother. And in the society, I don't think we younger people actually understood what it's all about. We are still in that journey of trying to understand what comes with being a mother and not just the show people see. You have a girl, you have a boy, the pink dress, the blue dress, you know, the twins. Some people even tell I want to have twins, you know, a boy, a girl, you know. And like I said, it's so amazing and important that we talk about the mental well-being of mothers, because even the most resilient mothers struggle. They struggle with mental health. And that's why I can understand when some people have come up to tell me, I'm not ready to be a mother. Before I used to think, this person doesn't know what she's saying. A mother gave birth to you and you don't want to be a mother. But you find out that they don't want to be that mother who wants to go through the responsibility, who wants to face the mental health challenges peculiar to being a mother. Some people wish like, oh, they should just give me a grown baby. Let me just start taking care of a grown baby. Because these mental health challenges are peculiar to mothers. And I don't know if I should go into talking about what are the mental health challenges.
Yes, I'd like you to expand more on that.
For example, let's start with identity loss.
Okay.
Being a mother, sometimes you lose your dreams, you lose your goals, you lose your identity. You are struggling to actually know, who am I? What am I doing? Sometimes you find out that some mothers have given up on their dreams because of the journey of motherhood. And you find out they're actually just managing or going through life just through that lens of the baby. That joy of having a baby. When they see their children, they are managing to be happy because my child is okay. Fine. Now, they have lost on their happiness, their hobbies. You could ask a mother, what are your hobbies? They can't even tell you. Like, I was somebody that loved to play lawn tennis, go for swimming. I can't even think of the last time I did that. But thank God for the joy of motherhood that helps to balance this identity loss, that some are resilient enough to also get back and catch up to finding their identity back. Also, we struggle with weight, appearances, looks of being a mother. Some are afraid of losing their so-called fantastic shape, you know, putting on weight, having to even take care of another human being, because the life of a child is totally dependent on a mother. So they find out that they are no longer happy with their physical look. So it's something that takes toll on both their physical, emotional, spiritual, psychological, and even social well-being. You find that some are even isolated from friends. Some mothers that used to be social before, because of the responsibility of being a mother, they barely have friends, they barely keep up with friends, they barely attend support groups, meetings for women and all that. So it's a very big challenge when it comes to identity loss, when it comes to physical appearances. And you know, we women, we love to look hot. You know, it gives us a sense of, how will I say, pride. That you're a woman, self-confident. So it also affects our self-esteem. That's why so many mothers are also operating from a place of low self-esteem. They feel they are no longer in the game. They are no longer presentable. They are now a mother. And some have also lost hope in taking good care of how they look, how they appear, because of the journey of motherhood. Probably they've not understood how to balance and juggle motherhood and also self-care, taking care of yourself. Another peculiar mental health challenge is what we call the PPD, postpartum depression. It happens a lot of times with women, and in fact we have up to 10 to 15% of that in mothers that must occur. And you find out that many times you don't even know what is going on with them. You find somebody who is happy to be a mother, and when the child comes, they are no longer happy, and it's way past the baby blues. It's no longer the baby blues. It has to do with persistent sadness, fatigue, irritability, isolation, and all that. But at this stage, the person needs counseling. The person needs professional help. And it's also dangerous to the well-being of the child, because the mother is now seeing the child, you are my problem. You created this problem. If I didn't have you, I would have been this, I would have been that, I would have gotten the promotion, I would have studied abroad, I would have gotten at the peak of my career. And if care is not taken, some may become suicidal, trying or thinking of how to harm their babies. For example, we had a recent outreach at a center at Ababa, where we talked to nursing mothers who came to immunize their babies. And we gave them time to talk about how they feel, what the challenges are. And we did this about last week Wednesday. And you find out they complained about financial struggle, because it's no longer about you anymore. It's about the baby's food.
Yes.
And we're in the economy, you know, when it comes to
Yeah.
pampers, wipes, and all that, we know all that. So the financial struggle, the financial dependency, the child depending on the mother, the family to get his or her own life. They also complained about lack of love from our men. Please, our men, we need to do better. In fact, they emphasize more on lack of care, support,
Yes.
and love from their partners, from family members, how they have been left alone to cater for things. You're attending to a child, probably are pregnant or carry the baby, the younger one wants attention, and nobody's there to help them. That it sends them ablaze and all that. So we also have what we call postpartum anxiety. These are mental health, specific mental health challenges that mothers do face, whereby they are now a bag of worry. They are fearful for the child's development, the child's well-being. Oh, he's supposed to be talking. She's not talking. She's not walking well. Something has happened. We need to see a doctor. One tooth is coming out. Oh no, teeth. You know. So the fear, the worry of how the child is developing, whether the child is feeding well or not feeding well. So all these puts in what we call postpartum anxiety. We also have another mental health challenge that is peculiar called postpartum. It's called postpartum. I'm trying to place the name again. Postpartum burnout.
Okay.
Yeah, because of so much lack of sleep deprivation, the mothers no longer sleep. And trust me, when you have a baby, even up till now, I can't remember the last time I had a good night's sleep. Like you go to bed and you don't wake up. You must wake up minimum of 2-3 times to check on the kids, to check on your children. So there is sleep deprivation, poor sleep, and you find out that most mothers are exhausted. They are exhausted. So they have what we call postpartum burnout, which affects them. They also have this issue of OCD, which also gives them what we call obsessive compulsive disorder. Is another mental health challenge that is peculiar to mothers, where they are going or struggling through what we call intrusive thoughts. You know, they are going through this thoughts all the time, and they are being compulsive about their behavior. They're trying to be perfect. They are trying to have these strict rules. This is my child, this is my baby, so the cup needs to be this way, the cup needs to be washed, it needs to be sterilized. You know, before they know it, it becomes a disorder called OCD. So these are the common mental health challenges that are common with mothers in this society as well. And the society is not also making it a fair place. There's another one we call the mom's guilt.
Okay.
Yes, where, you know, when a child is not doing well, the whole finger points to the mother, who is the mother of the child, because the home is the immediate environment of every child. So somehow fingers point to the mother, who is the mother. So there is this mom's guilt. Am I a perfect mom? Am I doing a good job? My children are not turning out well. This thing, I'm not liking it. This is not what I want for them. And in a bit of doing that, you find that you are making a mistake, or you're affecting even the child's self-esteem, because you are trying to be the perfect parent for your child. So you are easily overwhelmed with guilt, you are easily overwhelmed with shame and all that. So these are the peculiar mental health challenges facing our mothers.
That's quite a lot. I didn't know that it was this. I thought it was just postpartum depression and maybe anxiety, but I didn't know that OCD is also, because people who are mothers also suffer from OCD, but I didn't know that it was also peculiar.
Very much peculiar. Burnout, exhaustion, or guilt.
Wow,
shame.
That's a lot.
Yes.
So, but how do you think, looking at our society, Nigeria, how do you think it is something that is even being given that much attention? How do you see the way it's addressed?
I don't think it's addressed much, because I don't see a lot of mother support group coming up where they discuss the real issues, the realities on board. And another question is, How much knowledge do they have about mental health? Do they have much mental health awareness, knowledge, and education? So sometimes you also see some women's group and they discuss other things. You understand? They do their parties, they do their August meeting, they do all manner of things. Probably they discuss whatever, but are they championing the mental health and well-being of mothers? You know, bringing in younger mothers, younger generations to tell them, prepare them for motherhood. Even the single mothers, even the expecting mothers, this is what motherhood is all about. So we expect more from our elderly mothers to actually form groups, or even in their groups to start looking at topics like mothers, maternal, mental health, the impacts and the way forward. So no, I think it's still downplayed because probably of the general lack of awareness and education on what mental health is and what it is not, because there is still this stigma and misconception that mental health is mental illness,
Yes.
which is not. So I think that knowledge needs to be shared so that they will understand, so that in those their meetings and more support group for mothers, for women, this kind of topics can be talked about.
Right. Now, earlier on, you mentioned, you when you were talking about, was it postpartum depression, you said it's not baby blues. Yes. So I'd like to know, what's the difference between baby blues and PPD? Okay, the difference is baby blues can go away. It's just be a minor mood swing, mild mood swing. Okay, it's because of baby, I'm not feeling hungry. Maybe the next day you're okay to eat. But when you know it has gone into depression, is that there's no longer pleasure in anything. Even in the things you love doing, you no longer find pleasure in doing them. There is now irritability. Everything around you irritates you. People around you irritate you. There's this aggression. There's this tiredness, fatigue. You don't feel like getting out of bed. You don't feel like going to work. You don't feel like doing anything. So then you need professional help. So it's quite different from mild mood swings of having a baby. Yes. Yeah, but some people might have issues differentiating the two. Yes, that is why I mentioned there must be persistent sadness. Persistent sadness, that okay, even when they bring those things that you used to like, that gives you pleasure before, you don't feel like doing them anymore. And there is this withdrawal and isolation. You don't like people around you. People now irritate you. You know, things around you now easily irritate you. You're more aggressive. You're shouting at people, transferring aggression and all that. Yeah. So what are the early warning signs to know that a mother is starting to develop some form of mental health condition? Okay, first of all, when you look at your baby, how do you feel? What do you feel? Some feel guilt, some feel shame. Like I said before, some feel that their future has been stolen, some feel that their dream has been shattered. So when you look at your baby, do you feel joy, or do you feel guilt? Do you feel shame? Do you feel blame? You are blaming a child, that the child has cost you your dream. So then secondly, behind that joy, is it affecting your productivity as a mother? Are you becoming irritated? Are you distancing yourself from the baby? Because this is a real issue we are talking about. Some mothers don't like breastfeeding their baby. They will have a baby and you are begging them to breastfeed their baby. But we don't understand the struggles they are going through. They can't deal with the baby's cry. They don't want that connection with the baby. They don't want to build that connection at all with the baby. So when we start seeing such signs, the baby starts irritating you, people around you start irritating you, you are becoming aggressive. When you look at the baby, you're not happy. There are some doubts, there are some guilt, and you're always sad. You're always sad. Even when the people around you tries to make you happy, maybe buy the things you like, it's no longer you. There's no joy anymore. These are the early warning signs you need to then unexplained tiredness. All of a sudden you're tired of being you again. You're tired of looking good. You're tired of making your hair. You're tired of even getting out of bed. These are the early ones. Yes. So now I'd like us to go a bit more personal. I know as a mental health practitioner, you've had encounters with mothers who have suffered. So is there any particular one that is striking to you, and how did that turn out? Can you share with us? Okay. The one that is striking is mothers to special needs children. Sometimes you don't know how to help them because it's a case of the whole life of that baby is totally dependent on the mother. The mother can't turn left or right without looking at the baby.
Some have had babies who couldn't walk, they're still on the wheelchair. Some are still wearing diapers. Some are diagnosed with autism, Down syndrome, if you understand what I'm talking about. So some speech impaired, hearing impaired. So when you see a mother who has a special need child, her case is on another level. It's on another level. But what do you do? What I try to do, people, is that there are things within your control and there are things outside your control. This has happened. Should you now allow this to affect your functioning? Should you allow it to affect your decision making? Should you allow this to affect you? Why don't we look at ways we can turn this into positivity? Like, let's try and concentrate on the areas of strength in this child, what we can do to help you and the child, and not focus on the problem. Let's be hopeful and work on these potentials that we have seen in this child. So when they come, the challenges are peculiar. Some feel that, okay, Nigeria doesn't have the facility to take care of special needs children. The schooling is a problem, the support is a problem, the cognitive structuring is a problem for the child. So all this adds to the pressure and the stress of the mother, and it's quite overwhelmed them. They are just managing life, they're just barely living life. So what we do is to, like I say, channel them to know that they are important and that this child is dependent on you. So you need to be okay for this child to be okay. This has happened and is now out of your control. So let's start doing things that are within your control that you can do to help yourself and also the baby. Because trust me, babies feel our emotions as mothers. In fact, the first thing a baby feels is your emotion, not even your actions or your word. It's your emotions. They feel your emotions, how you feel. And an unhealed parent is the first adversary of every child. So if you're a parent that is not healed from trauma, probably you had your own trauma.
Okay, like your own personal trauma.
Yeah, personal trauma.
Okay.
In fact, you are transferring it to the next generation. They are feeling it, they are getting it. It's echoing through their own generation. So you are like the first problem the child is even facing.
Yes. So those are the striking ones: mothers with mental health, mothers with children with special needs,
and addictions as well. Because
addictions.
Yes, a lot of children are also going into addictions.
Okay.
Because of some family dysfunctional families, parental neglect, academic stress. So you find out that even it has gone down to primary school abuse and all that. Yes, in fact, I've had a case of someone in primary 4 that was being abused in the school toilet, a girl. So we've seen so many cases that has affected the mother and also the parents' mental health.
Yes. So what about you? Because you're a mother as well. I'd like to know, in your course of motherhood, have you ever found yourself in that situation where you are falling into a bad place and you had to bring yourself out of it?
Yes, very much. My second son had a medical diagnosis when he turned 5 years, before his 5 years, and it changed our life. When you have a child, that's why I said, when you have a child with a medical issue, that's why when some people come and their child is okay, the problem is maybe, maybe academic addiction and all that,
yes.
It's easier. But when you have a child with a health challenge, it's major, let me put it that way. You find that your life changes. When it started, we didn't understand what was going on. It threw us into deep anxiety, deep fear. And before you know it, you can go to what we call PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, whereby even as you are sleeping, you think you're feeling that your child is not okay. This is happening again. This is occurring again. You are waking up to go and check on the child. So yes, it has happened to us when our child started having some medical signs and symptoms that gave him some seizures, and we didn't know what was going on and all that. We thought it was malaria and all that. By the time it was diagnosed, our lives changed. We used to go out without the children, but we can't do that anymore because you have to be there. Although it's getting much, much better, but the initial stage, we were a bag of anxiety, we were a bag of worries. In fact, I don't know how to put it. You are always anxiety disorder, let me put it that way. Bag of anxiety disorder. Did it put me into depression? No, because I am mentally aware, and it also spurred me on to read more. That mothers need to educate themselves more to know how best to help your child. You don't sit and start nursing the situation. You have to, get up, see what you can do, get into some courses, seek for professional help to help support your child.
Yeah. Now, aside from your personal experience, as someone who also interfaces with mothers with these issues, does it take a toll on you, having to be a counselor or a therapist and having to hear all these problems and having to advise them or help them through it, with your own problems as well, probably going through something similar to what they are going through? How does that affect you?
Yes, in fact, there's one initiative and discussion I was having with also a therapist on this. I said, who takes care of the caregivers? Who takes care of us? We fill other people's cup. Who fills our own cup? That it's time we need to come together as caregivers, as nurses, as doctors, as therapists, as counselors, and have our own support group. Because whether you like it or not, yes, it affects us emotionally, psychologically. If you're not careful, you start see the image. You feel the image is playing out your own life, is playing out in your children's life because of what you've heard. You are now presuming on this happening because somebody have told you this about their child or their family. You just start seeing the image or picture appearing in your own life when it's not true. Yes, it affects us psychologically, so much more it affects us. And like I said, there's a lot of work to be done. This initiative should come on who takes care of the caregivers, caregivers support, us coming together as a society to care for each other, build our own support group, share what we go through and how best we can support ourselves through retreats, through workshop, through training, through self-care activities. Yes, it does affect us.
Now, I'd like to know, is there any difference between how these mental health issues affect first-time mothers as opposed to mothers who have had more than one child? Maybe they have 2 or 3, so they've had a bit of experience on that. And first time, is there any difference between the mental health issues or any kind of issues arising from?
There is really none, because you don't really prepare for motherhood. Like I said, anything can come up at when a child is 2 years, 3 years. A child can have a fall at 1 year. Do you understand what I mean? Anything can come up at any time, and you now have your own peculiar mental health challenges. That's why I say you never really prepare and say, oh, I have this, I know that. Anything can happen to a child, even from the womb stage, delivery stage. It can happen at any stage. So there's really no difference. It's when life throws something at you, you start getting ready.
Wow. Sometimes when you hear these things, it kind of puts this fear in young women who are yet to be mothers, because they think, is this what I'm going to go through as well? Anyway, what about partners and family involvement? What role do they have to play?
Yes, the society has a major role to play. For example, we need to stop judging mothers, rather start supporting mothers in any way we can, especially in today's society. Before, it used to be better, where they say that the whole village trains a child. Even when you are not around, somebody is looking after your child. But because we are overwhelmed with activities, jobs, getting money, nobody is taking care. You're even struggling to take care of your own child, not to talk more of another person's child. So you are like, please, everybody take care of your responsibility. May I face my own? So no, but society, we need to go back to that era where you see another person's child as your own child. It's rather than judgment, pointing, accusing fingers, putting up blames and all that. Let's start supporting mothers by putting in, looking into their maternal care, child care. I remember growing up, when our parents used to work, even in organizations, they used to have daycare for the children of the staff, because, a child starts school from like 2 years, 3 years. But these days, nobody cares about where you keep your child to come to work. So you find out that somebody who is barely struggling, managing her salary, is thinking of employing a nanny to pay how much, for God's sake. But during our parents' time, each organization used to have their crèche for the child of their staff. Where they come, they have people, caregivers that take care of them so that they could work. They don't need to start hiring nanny, paying nanny, and also worrying about the well-being of the child in the hands of strangers that you left in the house. So I think the society needs to come together and start putting these things back in place. organizations, workplaces should start looking into how they can support mothers to make their life easier. Take, for instance, going to immunization center. You hear that women need to pay for their child to be immunized. It used to be free before, but many centers, they now pay. This is like what is happening. So a mother in a community who is struggling to feed a child is also worried about immunization. Everybody is a collective effort. The government, what are they making to make the life of mothers easier? That they now have to start paying for immunization, sometimes antenatal care and all that. So the society needs to come together and find ways of supporting our mothers and the development of children.
Yeah. Now, do you think social media has a role to play in this, in all of this?
It depends on what you want to get out of social media.
Okay.
I know why I said that. You know, we are quick to blame social media, but there are also good things you can learn from social media, depending on who your mentors are, who you are listening to. So it's a broad area. It depends on what you want to get out from it. So if you want to be carried away with people's facade, you know, about having babies, the whole enjoyment, nobody shares where they are suffering, nobody shares their children's diagnosis, nobody shares their mental health challenges on social media.
Yeah.
All you see is the outing, the summer breaks and all that. Good for you. Yes, it has a major break. When you don't have digital literacy, when you are not social media intelligence, of course you could be carried away and deceived.
Now let's look at traditional African culture. How do you think that in Africa, our culture, our traditional culture, let's bringing it down to here in the East as Igbos, do you think that our culture has a role to play in how mothers are seen and in how mothers see themselves?
Yes. Like I said, you know, you call it societal responsibility. We have a major role to play. Like I said, when we stop playing the guilt game, the shame game, and start knowing that a child is a child of a community. You know, this is our child. This is a community child. No longer is this family, it is this mother. Anything I know is best for this child, I can do it, rather than where is this person coming from? This family. This family is known for this, so I don't want to get involved. Yes, a child should also be seen as the child of the community. When it's well for this child, it's well for the community. So yes, we have a major role to play as community, as Igbos, and let's start going back to helping mothers, back to inculcating values, because it's not enough for a mother to raise a child. There is responsibility of the church, there's responsibility of the school, majorly from the home, but it's a community effort to raise a child, and we have a long role to play, major role to play as a community.
All right. Now, this issue of mental health, like you said earlier, there's this stigma around mental health, and most people see it as mental illnesses. Now, what would you say are the barriers that are stopping women from actually accessing mental health care in situations like this? Because there are a lot of mothers who go through this. Some don't even know that they are going through issues like this. Their families don't even know, and they just tell them, you're a mother, I just do it like that. So what would you say are those things that are hindering them or stopping them from actually seeking help or speaking out or looking for people to talk to or counseling or the likes?
What is also helping them, affecting them, is still this fear of judgment. When you don't understand what's going on with you, that is why we need to champion professional help. Talk to a counselor, talk to a doctor. Talk to a doctor. A doctor will not say, okay, this is what is going on around you. The stigma is because nobody wants to be seen as, I have a problem. Everybody wants to be seen as things are working out well for me. And also what is fueling the stigma is still that lack of awareness and education. We need to do more campaigns on mental health, the impact, especially on mothers. We need to champion the education in schools, in communities. And our foundation, we are doing them already, but the job is so much. It's so much. And we really don't have mental health institutions down here, or rather I've not seen one that are active doing that. And it still boils down on, are people really aware of what mental health is all about? So we need to start having that conversation, start making the conversation normal, open, for mothers to understand that there's nothing wrong in sharing this. And that is why I still talk about support groups, where mothers come together and form a group and talk about the challenges obviously they may get help or advice, or somebody may say, I'm going through this, this is what we can do, this is what we cannot do. So we need counseling, we need more support groups, we need awareness, we need education, we need campaigns on mental health and its impacts on everybody, especially mothers, because they are directly responsible for another individual.
Exactly. Now, how can mental health practitioners like you prepare themselves adequately to support these women or these mothers that come to them for help?
Just like we've been doing this month, we've given out free counseling for pregnant and nursing mothers. We usually give out free counseling because at the end of the day, it's a funnel. How do you sustain this? How do you, because it's not enough to state the problem. After stating the problem, what next? So the end of the funnel is the counseling, where the person gets his or her tailored tools to help them with exactly the particular mental health challenges they are going through. So we've been doing a lot as an organization. Like I said, we've been going to different health centers, talking to pregnant women, their antenatal days, going for the immunization days, talking to them, assessing them to also find out if they are going through anxiety disorder or depression. We have the assessment forms for that. We also do that privately, and we also offer them one-on-one counseling on the spot after assessing them, but willingly, because they need to understand. Sometimes they don't even understand why they need counseling, because sometimes when you give free counseling, they don't show up because they don't see the reason or why they should come for counseling, because they don't understand the impact of mental health. So the challenge is still on knowing and understanding what mental health is and what is not, the impact it has on them, and how it affects their productivity, their decision making, their relationship, and their family life. So we are doing a lot. Next week we'll be at Ebony, a center there, to also have this psychosocial outreach for parents of special needs children. So we'll be doing quite a lot, community-based, helping our women in the community.
Wow, that's a very good one. Now, finally, because of time, what if you could give one message to struggling mothers or women who are going through these things, but they don't know what to do about it? What would you say to them right now?
What I would say is learn to speak up, learn to speak help. Most especially, look for a support group, learn to speak up, learn to seek for support.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. It's a very enlightening conversation, and I enjoyed my time with you. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is all mine.
All right, we'll go on a very quick break, and when we return, Gender Perspective continues. Do stay with us. Well, after hearing those powerful insights, it's clear that many of the challenges that mothers face are not just emotional. They are also shaped by myths and misinformation that surround motherhood and mental health. So now we'll ask how much of what we think we know is actually true. Well, let's set the record straight by looking at the myths and facts.
plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on e-vibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
So I should try harder. So
okay, I don't know that one.
Outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that.
Oh.
That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on e-vibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
The way we see the world shapes the way we change it. Gender isn't just a checkbox, it's a lens. One that helps us understand the world more deeply and act more fairly. Gender Perspectives, a program for those ready to see more, do more, and be more. Designed to challenge assumptions, ignite conversations, and build inclusive solutions across every sector of society.
We are not, fighting the men. We are not saying we are equal in terms of rights. We're only asking they should recognize our existence.
Join us on Gender Perspectives, showing every Saturday by 4 p.m. Repeat every Wednesdays by 5 p.m. and Thursdays by 3 p.m. Change begins with perspective. Let's widen yours.
Welcome back. Now, motherhood is a journey filled with love, filled with challenges and profound change. And mental health is an essential part of that journey. Now, today we've explored the truth behind the myths we've heard from experts and shed light on the silent struggles that many women face. But the conversation doesn't end here. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember that help is available, and reaching out is a sign of strength and not weakness. Well, thank you for joining us on today's episode of Gender Perspectives. And until next time, I am Uchenna Chimdi Olwoha. Enjoy the rest of your day.